Okay, guys. So Angela and I both have struggled with ulcerative colitis, and we've found a way to make a huge difference in our health through diet and through other ways other than medication. So we figured we'd have a conversation, strategize a little bit, and then hopefully offer some help to others through ways that we've done it. So I have a series of questions that I'd like to ask
Hmm.
Angela, and anything that you want to ask me back, we can do that as well, and we can kind of just jump around. Okay?
Perfect. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so Angela, can you tell me when you were diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and what is your current status? Just give me a little breakdown of how it got started and where you're at today with
Okay,
colitis.
so I was first diagnosed in January this year of 2023. Now that is after being misdiagnosed for over 2 years.
Right.
So with symptoms and very scary flare up one time each year for the last 3 years it was until I was diagnosed this year.
Right.
And
Right.
one of them ended me up, I landed in the hospital. And I work in radiology for 20 years. So I was, trying to tell the doctors, I think it sounds like UC or it sounds like Crohn's, I thought it was C. diff. It just mimics all of those things.
Right.
They, they did a colonoscopy at one point, one of my GI doctors, who is not my doctor anymore. And it was found to be negative. The pathology said negative for UC.
Right.
Even though he said visibly that's what it looked like. So then I carried on. I thought I just had irritable bowel, IBD, and I tried to watch what I was eating. I would be like gluten-free, dairy-free for a while.
Uh-huh.
And after a series of stressful situations and maybe just not eating correctly, I had that last flare-up in January, and
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very sick this time. I ended
Right.
up in the hospital, and to be honest, at one point I really thought I was going to die, to be truthful. I couldn't
Right.
think for myself. So they ended up doing a colonoscopy while I was there this time. And they said, hands down, it's UC. And we need to get you on a regimen immediately.
Yeah.
They put me on prednisone, of course, which is the steroid. And I have good and bad things to say about that. But
Right.
and then they put me on mesalamine. They had me
Mm-hmm.
on 6 pills a day. And currently, due to watching my diet and just doing a couple different things to help heal the microbiome and try to balance out things, I'm down to no steroids anymore and down to 2 mesalamine a day currently.
That's fantastic. That's great. So I just want to jump in and ask you, what were some of those symptoms that you were dealing with initially, like before you were even diagnosed, before you knew exactly what was going on, and then also when you realized there was a real problem and you were feeling symptoms increase? Can you tell me some of these symptoms you were dealing with?
Yeah, so it was just constant. It would start off with constant indigestion.
Right.
Even before eating, my stomach just felt like I had indigestion, and I'm like, I didn't even eat yet. I
Right.
just didn't feel right. To be honest with you, I had it. I know a lot of people talk about all the stomach issues, but I also had other symptoms. I had
Right.
my thinning, my face was breaking out, and I was like, do I have adult acne? I mean, I'm 40 years old,
Right.
just joint pain. Joint pain was big. I was getting
Yeah.
joint pain, my wrists, my fingers, because I worked in interventional radiology and I would be assisting the radiologist during studies. We would be
Yeah.
doing wires and catheters and all these things, and my joints hurt, and I live here in Las Vegas. It's not like the weather is that cold,
Right. Right.
I was just feeling like just not myself, just feeling horrible actually, along with
Right.
um, when I would have a flare up, then it was many trips to the bathroom,
Right.
and there was blood,
Yeah.
very scary. So I kind of thought I had a GI bleed for a while. I mean, there was a lot of things there,
Right.
and just general feeling of just fatigue, not feeling yourself. And then I would also end up vomiting as well when I would be in a really bad flare. It would be my whole GI tract was affected, not just lower. So.
Right. So not only were you having digestive symptoms of all kind, but you were having skin issues, you were having energy issues, you were having brain fog. It was kind of, your health was just completely out of whack.
Oh yeah, I myself. And at first I was like, you know, is this just what it feels like to get older? And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to accept that. There's something wrong. And I was thinking maybe it was lupus. You know, I was looking into
Right.
other diseases. And then I found this out. So yeah.
Right. And so you're experiencing so much better health now. You've been able to coach people. My question for you is, when did you realize that you had more control over this disease? That number one, some of the things that the doctors were doing were not necessarily helping you a ton. I mean, you are on some medication, but at some point you realized that you had more power over this disease. When did you kind of develop that mindset?
So it was after each time I started, like when you reflect and think back of what you've gone through, it was after each flare that I've had, how I would my regimen of being able to eat again. Because of course, during a flare, I mean, it would be weeks where I didn't eat a morsel of food. I wasn't able to eat anything. Starting off at like 0 again, I like to call it. It's like my body knew what it needed in a way, and that would almost be what I would have a craving for. Like like eggs, for some reason, when I first was able to eat again, it's like I knew that I was able to eat eggs, and that wasn't going to make me sick. There were certain types of breads. I think I was mentioning one time that sourdough bread, I gravitated towards that.
Right.
And when I looked it up, sourdough is actually one of the best breads to have for ulcerative colitis. It's easily, you know, just, it was weird. My body just was going towards certain things. Pickles, for some reason, I was craving for pickles, and I'm like, I don't know what is happening here, you know. Dairy, I used to love dairy, yogurt, and milk, and all that stuff. I wouldn't even look at it. I couldn't even have it come near me. Like, I knew that was. So then being able to eat again, and the things I was incorporating, I reflected back, and I thought about things that worked and things that didn't. I had to stay away from coffee, and I was like a coffee connoisseur. Like, I loved it my whole life. Cannot do it. I learned my lesson a couple times with that. And then probiotics, I put myself on a probiotic regimen. Yes, I mentioned it to my doctor, but I did it myself. You know? And then this last time, I found this drink that I actually drink now, which actually digested easier and just goes better. But so probiotics were a big thing for me to actually help heal and get the good bacteria back in there from all the antibiotics on and stuff too.
And when you found you were eating these foods that your body was craving, you were finding relief, and you were doing better with these foods. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I started strength from there, and then I would just continue from that. And you know, your trips to the bathroom started to slow down, you know. Like each day you felt that you were starting to get stronger and stronger, because towards the end of one of those flares, I mean, you're depleted. Your muscle mass feels depleted. You're completely exhausted. Everything's out of your system. You start to slowly build yourself back up. Bone broth was another. Well, my mom chicken broth, you know. Then I read about bone broth, and have done. You know, I've even heard even the one thing you mentioned on your page, and that's true too. Absolutely.
Right. So that's definitely really interesting that your body had that intuition, you know, as far as maybe it was missing out on certain nutrients that it needs. We know how nutrient dense eggs are, and the egg yolk and the egg whites having collagen. Maybe your body knew that it was trying to repair itself. And then with things like sourdough bread, pickles, and the fermentation that they offer, maybe, you know, somehow your body had some intuition that it needed to repair itself. So I think that's great. And so I'll jump in a little bit too about myself. We spoke a little bit before, but I'll go over some other things. So my symptoms began when I was only 17 years old, and I was diagnosed at 18. And so I had some particularly horrendous symptoms. I had to rush to the bathroom between 10 and 20 times a day. I had tons of urgency, tons of bleeding. My energy levels were extremely low. You know, I remember, not to be gross, but, you know, as me and you were explaining what we went through with this disease, you know, I would fill up the toilet with blood 3 times before any bowel movement would pass through.
Been there.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and when I would get off of that toilet, I was so physically and mentally drained. It's like I wouldn't want to go forward with anything. And with that came some of the depression, the anxiety, the lack of motivation. So I mean, it really just shows how mental this disease is as well. And I was going through that, as I was saying, at the time I was a really young guy. So I was just getting started with college. My mother and my stepfather had just moved away, so not having them near me, it was just like it was a confusing, depressing time. And I felt that the doctors would sometimes offer me relief, or the medications offered me some help, but ultimately I wasn't getting where I wanted to be. So that's when I started experimenting more with diets. And I did things like I got rid of alcohol, I got rid of dairy, I stopped eating spicy foods. I was a kid that loved eating spicy foods growing up, so I had to give up all these things I was so comfortable with. And like you, I started seeing some relief. It's like it wasn't like I was healed right away, but I found that it was many less trips to the bathroom. It was better mental health once again. It was things were starting to make sense. And but I was still dependent on the medication, and that was the thing. If I didn't have my medication, I started to see problems, and so eventually at the age of 25, I jumped into this animal-based diet, finding Paul Saladino on YouTube and looking up a lot of his techniques and the diet that he followed. I started incorporating some of the things, and eventually I jumped in. I said, this is what I want to do. I'm seeing more and more progress. And actually, it was at a point where I was flaring, where I realized I need to go all in on this, because I'm not going back in that hospital. I'm not doing this dance again.
Oh.
And I have been incredibly fortunate to have a lot of success with this diet. And at the beginning of this year in January, that's when I had my colonoscopy that told me that I had no sign of inflammation, no sign of either ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. So
That's
yes.
amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And
Sounds like
so that
they healed themselves. Like they're healed in a way.
they did. Yeah, they did exactly. And so I cannot say for anyone watching, or for anyone that watches our video that we post, I cannot say for sure that I'm 100% healed no matter what. And I know that my body still may be fighting some inflammation. I may still be suffering from some symptoms from this disease, but I had it since I was 17. I had my colonoscopy nearly a year ago, and I'm blessed to be doing better. And so I'm going to always stick to a diet. I'm always going to be mindful. It's never going to be about, oh, now I can eat whatever I want
Right.
again. And that's something that I think we should be aware of. And so what I can say is I'm really blessed that this has worked so great for me. And, I want to continue with that, and I want to, offer help to others as like what you do as a coach. So that brings me to my next question. What, other than your success with your disease, what made you want to get into coaching, as you're now a health coach? And what are some things that you can offer to people?
So mainly because I think just working in healthcare, that's for 20 years, it's all I really know, which is to, help people. Again, I'm not like,
Right.
I'm not the epitome of what is perfect or exactly what you should be doing, but I feel that when you hold yourself accountable as well, and
Right.
it just gives even more to stay on track. I'm human though. I've fallen off track before, just like other people. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have bumps in the road.
Right.
But if you just, try to do the right thing and just keep remembering, like for me, it's hard for me. Like I just had this happen last night. I sometimes when you go, I don't know if you ever experienced this, I'm sure you have before, like when you're around a group of people, whether it be your family or whatever, and you want to just sometimes eat like the way everyone else is eating, like in a way, like it doesn't mean that you forget. I mean, obviously you remember what it feels like to be sick, but sometimes you're just like, oh, I wish I could just eat what everyone else is eating. I want to pick whatever off the menu, I want to just eat all the desserts and all the different things, and for my life, I mean, I'm Italian, like I've grown up with all of those dishes and all the cannolis and all that stuff, and And that to me is a hard part, because it's like you feel like, not that you don't fit in, but that you just want to be like everybody else in a way, as far as just eating whatever, and
Of course.
not to worry about it so much. But then on the other hand, then I remember what it feels like to be sick. And
Right.
no, I think I'm going to stick with what's safe for me.
Right.
So if I could at all, as I'm starting this up again with this coaching, if I could at all help anyone with making it successful, it's not just physical, it's mental. You have all aspects of health, your financial health, and wellness, because I don't know about you, or if you've ever, I've struggled before, and I can tell you right
Yes.
now, your mental health too,
Yep.
so it's all one. So
Right.
really just trying to align all of that spiritually, whatever people believe, that's up to them, but
Right.
get it all to align in one, and having someone to help guide you do that. I just think that it helps people tremendously. The fact that we can relate, that we know what people are going through,
Right.
is amazing, because that's all people really want, is for someone to be able to relate to them.
That's fantastic. That's well said. So I want to just jump in on something that you said, and I completely understand that feeling. People with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's know, which is, man, I wish I could just eat what everyone else is eat. I wish I could, indulge in this culture that everyone else is, like, especially with someone like you that's Italian. And what's also tough about Italian food is a lot of those foods can be tough on our digestive system, especially when we're in a healing
Right.
phase. So some of the tomato sauces and the pastas, the heavy gluten pastas, etc. But what I would say is something that I notice is that when you make up that decision in your mind and say, hey, there's certain foods that I don't eat right now because number one, I'm in a healing stage, or number two, I know that I know this diet works for me and I have to go about it that way. You'll find that a lot of people will really respect you for it.
Yeah.
You will go through those bumps in the road where people are like, man, what's wrong with you? Eat the pizza, dude. Come on, don't be like that. That's always gonna be a factor, but you'll find more and more, the more that you stick to your marbles and you stick to how you feel about it, and people see you're serious. And even better, when people see the results, that you're healing and that you're doing something great for yourself, people, they step back and say, hey, I got nothing to say. That they know what they're doing. This is their diet and it works for them. So that's something that I always try to keep in mind. And when I'm telling others, if you can keep this mindset in your mind, it goes a long way. It really helps with that battle that we have.
And it doesn't come easy though, like
No, it
I
doesn't.
definitely have struggled before. I had the period of time where it was like, in a way, woe is me, like, for better lack of words, like
Right.
I was kind of like a victim. I was like, why am I going through this?
Right.
Why can't I eat what everyone else is eating, or all the things that I used to love eating? Like,
Right.
I mean, just blatantly, like, this sucks, and
Right.
it's definitely a hard thing. But like you said, when you know how you feel and when you're seeing results from it, you just have to keep that in the back of your mind, that
Right.
that it's not worth it to feel sick. I know, I'm sure you're very busy too. I know, like, I'm too busy to be sick like that.
Right. Right.
I'm not saying that I'm never going to have a flare up again. I don't know what's going to come around the corner, but if I could try to help it at all, I'm going to,
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a good mindset for sure. There's so many mental battles that we're going through when we're going through this disease. Obviously, if you put the pain aside, even just wanting to eat the foods that you enjoy, wanting to eat the foods that you're comfortable with, and getting used to it, saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? These are all very normal feelings, so that's why this is such a mental game. And something that I'm noticing is it's really important to combat this mental game with a diet that really works for you. So not only is it something that you're getting back into your groove, you're getting healthier, but it's foods that you enjoy eating.
Yeah.
You like the flavor of the foods. You feel good about eating these foods. Like, for example, someone may get on some diet that they think is helping them with ulcerative colitis, and all it is green juices and salads, and they can't stand that. They used to be someone that eats meat all the time, and so that's very likely not going to be something that works for them. You know, so that's why I'm so big on the animal-based diet, because it helped me transform my relationship with food. You know, it took foods that I really enjoyed, and it made me enjoy them in a way that I didn't think about the other foods that I used to love. So
That's great.
So for example, when I was in high school and I was a football player and I was much heavier than I was now, you know, I love to eat everything. I love to have the pizza. I love to have all the beers with it. I loved, you know, to have the fries, whatever it is. But now, you know, I'm enjoying foods where I don't miss those, because I'm still eating a lot of meat, right? I'm eating steaks, I'm eating burgers. I'm just skipping the bun with the poor ingredients, but I'll have some bacon that's organic and it's quality. And I'm skipping, you know, the Oreo cookies, but instead I'll enjoy some quality fresh fruit. And because I was able to enjoy this food, I was able to resonate with it. I was able to kind of create, you know, a new mental frame, a new way of seeing food, and it helped me not miss the other foods. And then when I could establish that, then people could say, hey, why the heck is Zach not having any dessert, this and that? I said, well, I'm not going to eat that, but, you know, I'll ask the waiter, can you bring me a side of fruit or whatever it is, you know? And people say, wow, that really works great for him. So, and you know, it's like, it's just getting in a good cycle. And I think that's something that's really important as we're battling something mentally with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm sure that was before you started all in on that diet, was it just years of kind of like trial and error for you?
Yeah. Good question. So like I said, you know, I got rid of alcohol. I had to get rid of alcohol, which is tough, you know, being a young guy, being in college at a university at the time. That was really tough, but it was something that I was getting such bad symptoms every time. I realized, hey, this is something I got to do, because it's either the alcohol, you know, or my health. So I picked my health. And spicy foods, again, like I was telling you, I love to indulge in spicy Cheetos. If I have any of my buddies from high school that tuned in or listening, they'll know I love to eat spicy Cheetos and spicy Doritos, or, you know, go to the Mexican restaurant and you know, if I'm getting tacos or whatever, I want the hot sauce. That was something that had to stop, you know, and there's people now that they heal their gut and they can start doing that again. But I'm one that I think it's better to find something that really works for you, that you like, and stick to it, so you're not dealing with the flare-ups and going back and forth. And then a little more about my diet. You know, I was still including a lot of eggs. I was including plenty of chicken, salmon. Those were big on my protein sources. But I really shied away from the red meat for the most part, because I was hearing things like red meat can cause inflammation. And sometimes when I would eat the red meat, I wouldn't necessarily feel the best. But I was, like I had told you, I was hearing things from Saladino. And so I was keeping my mind open to it. And then a couple things. One time my dad, he made a slow-cooked chuck roast, and I ended up eating some of it. And I had one of the best bowel movements I had in a long time. I felt fantastic. I said, this is interesting, because isn't this supposed to not be good for me? And then I worked security. So I was always working at the weddings, and I would try to get the chicken, you know, when it was my lunch break, instead of the steak. But the chicken often would be loaded with cream sauces and dairy, so then I couldn't eat it. So I'd eat the steak instead, and then I'd feel really good. So, I found that, you know, I looked into a lot of studies, and everything that I would find would be that, you know, we did a study on red meat causing inflammation. We found the control group that did not include the processed red meat did not have raised inflammation markers. So every time they were trying to pair the hot dogs and you know, the burgers from fast food and this and that with steak, and they wouldn't be the same results. The people that include quality red meat do not have raised inflammation. And the only other thing I would say is, if someone like yourself or other people are trying to eat red meat and they're still struggling with it, there could be a couple different things going on. So your body could not be producing enough stomach acid right now. So a lot of protein or fat can be hard to digest. So you need to look into things like going with a slow cooked meat that's pre-digested from the way it's cooked. That's easier to digest, you know, or cutting back a little bit on the fat or the portion size and reintroducing it to your body. Don't go to In-N-Out Burger and have a quadruple burger that, you know, it's not going to get you anywhere. So, but like with anything with this disease, you got, it's trial and error. And that's what I did. I did an elimination style diet. I included as minimal things as possible, and I took the animal-based approach, and it really worked for me.
Amazing. That really, that's awesome. Definitely for me, I could relate with things that agree with me. Yeah, dairy, I just forget dairy altogether.
Right.
It just doesn't go well. It's not even just gives me too much. It would cause like pain, you know, like the cramp and everything. Yeah, it just
exactly
from it. But definitely salmon and ground chicken. A lot of gluten-free white rice, not brown rice. You know, we don't.
Right. It's a little rougher for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So gluten-free white rice, ground chicken. I eat a lot of ground turkey. The eggs. A lot of, like, I actually eat a lot of non-dairy yogurt with blueberries in it for breakfast. You know, I mean, there's a lot of good choices. You just have to, like we said, trial and error, or just slowly introduce little things and just how it's going to work for you, you know.
Exactly.
Been able to find a lot of things, and definitely while I'm doing that, I concentrate on helping give the microbiome of your, because obviously, so everyone has that imbalance, right? I feel like from the people eat and different things, but we definitely have that imbalance. So for us, it's even that much more important. But yet, gut health is everything. I mean, it affects in your body. I know we've talked briefly about that before, but it affects everything. And once you start to heal your gut health and concentrate on that, other things fall into place. I noticed, like, my hair is getting thicker again, and it's growing really fast. My skin cleared up. Like, just so many things have started to fix themselves, because what you put on your body, as far as like skincare or shampoo, it's what you ingest. That's where it starts.
100%. Yep. And not only that is, you're ingesting these nutrients through the food, and when your gut is inflamed and you can't digest anything, your body is going to be depleted. You're not going to be getting the nutrients you need to have healthy hair and healthy skin. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why, you know, when I was telling you about that drink from Amari Global that I drink, that's what's helped me, but it's helped everything, actually, because the science that has been done in the clinical trials. So 90% of your serotonin and 50% of dopamine and your GABA is actually produced in the gut. And happy chemicals, you know, everyone away think that's in the brain, but it's actually so if you concentrate and take supplements that are derived to balance those, then from there you can actually start to feel better mentally. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of people, and they're just right away like, oh no, that's not true, you know. Actually it is. It's actually a real thing, and I felt from it, being on almost 3 months now, so I actually can say I feel better, you know.
I'd like to jump in and give some credit to your product. Obviously not because it is your product, but it's something that does have merit, because it's called Happy Juice, right?
Funny, some people say that's a funny name, but it's a direct play off, I guess a customer named it, but it's because it really is about your happy chemicals that are made in the stomach, and that's what it concentrates on.
Right. So not only does Happy Juice have these chemicals that help you produce serotonin, but it also has L-glutamine in it. It also has probiotics and prebiotics, so it's helping restore the gut microbiome. And so it may, you know, of course, it's not some total replacement for diet, but someone like each of us that struggles with, you know, a bowel disease, introducing a juice like this, granted that it doesn't have ingredients that will hurt you, which I imagine it totally doesn't. You know, and introducing these things are actually really going to help your gut.
Absolutely. And I made sure too. I always explain to people, what searched for something, as most of us do, right? When we are looking for products, we go online to look for these things now. You know, or we go on social media, in other words, like Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And that's what I did. So I was desperate to find something that would help up level the way I felt, where it wasn't something to sell me, you know,
Right.
or I felt like I needed an additive, like I needed to do something additional for myself. And so I took it into my own hands. I searched, and that showed up.
Right.
I watched it for a while. I didn't just immediately buy it. And I'm
Yeah.
things and kind of like skeptical, and
Right.
ingredients and everything. And I watched more testimonies and, you know, did more research. And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. And at that time, they were having a free affiliate link with it. So I thought,
Right.
it's free. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just put it on the side. Didn't do anything with that link. Well, when I started feeling this way, like I believe it was like 2 weeks later, I felt different when I woke up in the morning. I actually wanted to like get out of bed a little bit. Like usually I would just be kind of sluggish in the morning. I
Right.
different. And I'll be honest, I said at first, maybe it's a placebo effect. I don't know. And then I said to myself, well, I don't care if it's a placebo effect. Whatever it is, it's working, you know?
Right.
And then
Right.
that I stuck with it, the better I feel. It has like phase benefits. So the longer you're on it, just like anything in life, right?
Right.
And now I am sharing it with people. You know, I'm like, there's
Yep.
people that I could help. If I could help people, I'm absolutely going to share it. Absolutely.
Right. So if you're someone listening or watching our video and you do have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, give Happy Juice a try. You know, maybe the diet that you've tried hasn't worked so well. Like I said, it's not going to be a replacement, but it could really be something that can kickstart you, you know, your health journey, you feeling better. The gut microbiome starts to, you know, become replenished, and maybe you get some serotonin, which will, you know, inhibit some motivation. And like you also said, the gut is connected to the brain, so it's all related to, you know, get you start moving in the right direction. So Angela has a discount code. I'm going to put that in the description. And so to kind of bounce off that, I just got started with a company you may have seen. I'm sponsored also like you are with that company. It's called EPN. It's Enhanced Performance Nutrition. And so they reached out to me, and you know, I'm the same way. I'm skeptical about a lot of things, as me and you should be with
Right.
our condition. So Enhanced Performance Nutrition is a great company. They're gym based. They're performance based for working out in the gym, but they also are health based, and they have other products that are not only good for the gut, they're good for the brain too. So, you know, they have things like collagen protein, whey protein, pre-workout. And for me personally, there's some products that I don't think are the best for me, but there's some products that are fantastic for me. Like, as I was talking about, glutamine is something that anyone with colitis or Crohn's should absolutely be having, like what's in your Happy
Absolutely.
Juice. So I had to pick up some glutamine. Big fan of it. It's a great product. It's got no other ingredients. So if you're someone with colitis or Crohn's, I have a discount code for you to get some glutamine.
Awesome.
They have the collagen, and so if you wanted to, you let me know. So great. And so they have collagen protein. Again, is fantastic for colitis. I'm not sure if you're using any protein powders these days by chance.
I use one. I use one that I don't even know. Well, I use one from Amari, which is it's a plant protein. You know, all vegan.
Yeah.
I use that. I use the chocolate one right now, and then I also have another one. To be honest with you, I don't know what brand it is, but it's a collagen protein as well. But either way, but I'm friends with you, so I'm going to get yours.
That's right. Awesome. I appreciate that. Great. So, so collagen protein is the next product that I'm going to be getting. But again, like their glutamine, it's got no other added ingredients. So these are kind of things that people with our condition should absolutely be using. Now, if you're someone that's really struggling with your gut health, I might say maybe hold off on the mass gainers. Maybe hold off on the whey protein. If you're someone that does really good with plant-based protein, you know, I say more power to you, but I'm someone that say be aware of that. Be very careful with that.
Right.
And so collagen protein is actually, for people that don't know this, collagen protein, usually there's a few different kinds, but this one and what it typically is, it comes from bovine hide, basically from cow skin. And so, you know, there's not a lot of things that we do with cow skin in the beef industry. We can use leather for it, but collagen protein, a big way we found a way to use this collagen through their skin and make a protein powder out of it. and it's loaded with collagen, just like our skin is loaded with collagen. So we make it into a powder, and as long as we don't add any bad ingredients, it's rich in protein, it's rich in collagen, which will help the gut. So and so not only, yeah, it's great. So and not only does EPN have that, but they also have an omega-3 pill. So as you know, omega-3s are great for helping with fighting inflammation. And so there's plenty of good products. And so if anyone watching needs anything gym-wise, health-wise, check out EPN. I got a discount code for you.
Awesome.
It's Z Kaplan. And what is your discount code, Angela?
I always end up